Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Small Print Podcast. I'm your host, Elise, and I blog at roulettereader.wordpress.com.
I'm Dawn, and I blog at bangbangbookblog.com.
And today we are bringing you our review of Violet Grenade by Victoria Scott.
Alright, so Violet Grenade is about Domino, who is a homeless teen from Detroit with a dark past, and a little voice that talks to her named Wilson. When her only friend gets arrested, she meets a mysterious woman with a house of entertainers who promises her quick cash if she joins her house of burgeoning entertainers. Alright, so do we start with likes or dislikes?
Let's go with dislikes.
Okay. So this is the first time that neither Elise and I have discussed this book prior to
Correct.
Right now. So I have
Which is unusual.
I know. I have no idea if she liked it or not, and she doesn't know if I liked it or not.
Indeed. Let's find out. Well, should we say our overall rating first then?
Sure.
Okay. My overall rating was 3.75. There were some things that brought it down for me, which I'll go into. I did like this book, though. I read it really quickly. Every night I wanted to come home and read this book, and I would read like 100 pages in a sitting, which for me is not typical.
Yeah.
At least these days. Like, I used to be able to blow through books, but lately I just can't do it. So I did like it. I will recommend this book to people, but critically I gave this book a 3.75.
I gave it a 2.
Mm-hmm.
I've become much more critical with books now. Especially like more literally, not literally, but literary
Mm-hmm.
critical. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about with this book. Okay, so dislikes. Where do I start here? I don't want to go into the big hitters first.
That's funny.
Right off the bat, I liked the direction that this book was going. Are we going to do a spoiler edition?
I don't know. I don't think. No. I guess I don't know.
Well,
it could be something quick.
There's a friend in the beginning of the book who ends up getting into trouble, and Domino, our protagonist, has been living with this person for 2 years, so she's very close with him, only because she herself is very emotionally and psychologically damaged, so she kind of grapples onto whoever is there for her, and she acknowledges that. She realizes that she loves people too easily, and that is a flaw of hers in this book. But at the same time, the author doesn't fix that by the end of the novel.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like Domino is still easily as attached to people by the end of the book as she was in the beginning, although to say a positive about that, she does choose people at the end of the book that are better for her than she did at the beginning of the book. But that did kind of bother me. She's a smart character, but she gives in to her fatal flaws a little bit too much.
Okay. So I too don't want to go to the heavy hitters. So, I think overall not the biggest problem, but one of my problems is that I felt this book is too formulaic. It has a troubled girl with trust issues. She meets a hot guy. She gets bullied. She makes a friend. She kind of grows in the end. It's kind of, the author kind of hit all of the how books are supposed to go. You know exactly when the climax, and then the denouement, and then the end.
Final
it's
resolution.
Like, and there's really nothing in there that makes it different. Wilson, which is her inner monster, is supposed to be the thing that makes this book stand out, and we'll go into that, I'm pretty sure, because that's the heaviest hitter.
Notes too. Yeah, I got some stuff on
so, but yeah, that's one of my issues, was that it didn't really offer anything new. It was just like, okay, another girl with problems.
Yeah. There were elements of this book that I felt were unique and definitely creative, but I overall was expecting more from this novel. I will say this about Wilson. Wilson is what drew me to this book.
Yeah.
I read the back, I was like, ooh, this is going to get weird.
Yeah.
Let me read this.
And that's where...
And it failed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
So I guess, in order to segue, I wrote down a note about the portrayal of mental illness, and then I also wrote, or not.
Exactly.
Does she have a schizophrenic personality?
I would say no.
I don't think so, because schizophrenia as far as I know, because I feel like if this were the case, people wouldn't have schizophrenia. She can turn it on and off at will in this book, and by the end of the novel, she releases Wilson.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a spoiler, but at the end of the novel, she releases Wilson, and he leaves.
So that's not
not schizophrenia. If that was possible, we would not have this disease.
Yeah.
Long term.
So that was one of my problems.
So
the book
confused.
Is I don't know what genre this is. Is it paranormal? Is it contemporary? I don't know.
Yeah, normally I like that. I like genre blending. I like this kind of weird coming together of aspects, but Wilson was a letdown for me, and I was reading the reviews on Goodreads of other people who have read this, and they're like, I loved Wilson with my whole heart and soul. I was like, I wanted to. He wasn't as, like, threatening or overbearing or, like, as loud as I thought he was going to be.
Mm-hmm. He kind of at first seemed like her conscience, but then all of a sudden he would... Are we going to start talking about Wilson now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden he would... When she would turn into Wilson, she would turn into, like, a crazy person. Like, he would start saying these, like, sinister prose and, like, out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And just, like, bashing heads. Mm-hmm. And then snap, she's back. So at first he was kind of seeming like, oh, you know, maybe you shouldn't get involved with this person. He's like her conscience at first, but then it turns into a different personality.
Yes,
like
it was like Wilson's character itself was not fleshed out, and that was the problem. If he's gonna be the monster, you need to make him be the monster. You can't have him be the both angels sitting on the shoulder. You know, it was like I was thrown off because he would like comfort her. I'm like, no. I don't know. You know, Wilson was clearly supposed to be this side of her that she has found a way to not remember or shut off. But at the same time, he doesn't really... I don't know. It didn't work.
Yeah.
It just didn't work. And the fact that she was able to just, like, release him in the end really kind of bothered me. I felt the ending was rushed.
Oh, yeah.
It was just...
And if you saw someone who just snapped and was talking crazy, and I say maybe you shouldn't say crazy, but just talking out of character and torturing people, I would be genuinely worried, and I'd not want to be around that person anymore. Like, this person has a serious mental problem. Mm-hmm. And they were just like, sure, you go. No, that's not realistic. I mean, if this is a contemporary, then that is unrealistic. If this is paranormal, okay, but I cannot find the paranormal part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. That was my biggest issue with this book. The other stuff I have are much more minor issues. Domino, this just drove me nuts that she took forever to realize that she was basically in, I don't want to say prostitution because we didn't actually see that happen. Because remember when she walks into the Lily house, they're like, if you were a virgin when you walked out of there, you're going to leave a virgin when you walk out of here. So it's like, what the hell? I'm sorry. People don't just come to these things. And of course, we never find out what happens in the last two houses, which I'm assuming that's what it is. But she doesn't seem to get what is happening around her. It bugged me.
She's a runaway for 2 years living on the street in Detroit. And
You've
you mean
probably
to tell
seen
me?
Some stuff.
Yeah. Come on.
Right.
And that's another thing that bothered me. Now that you say that we're not quite sure that it was prostitution, the author never said the word prostitution.
Right.
Ever. And I'm like, is it because it's ambiguous, or is it because she's trying to keep this at a certain grade level, and maybe that word makes it an older book and they can't really market it to young people? I don't understand why she didn't just say, but there's everything else. There's almost a sexual assault, there's drug abuse, mm-hmm. There's torture, there's guns. I mean, this is not
this book
a middle grade book.
Some dark places.
Yeah.
Really dark places.
So I was kind of confused as the point of leaving out the prostitution. Even Wilson mm-hmm. was like, you know what you're going to be doing. Mm-hmm. He's telling her, come on. But he never said prostitution.
And you never see it happen on the page.
No.
Because until she gets to the Lily house, you can see what everybody else is doing. Is it tulips? Lilies?
I don't know.
Whatever. One of the ones that are outside of the main house. We'll go into that a little bit later, what that means. The romance. Let's talk about that.
Formulated.
Didn't like it. I liked the character of Cain in that he was equally as damaged and but he was kind of boring. Like, he was meant to come off as this, like, stoic, I'm protecting the world from myself, but it kind of just came off. I literally, in my head, saw John Cena. And I hate John Cena.
Oh, no.
So it was like this big bumbling idiot of John Cena walking around the book, and she's, like, falling in love with him at the end. They're, like, tickling each other. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I turned to Dawn as I was reading at my desk one day. I'm like, is it bad that I'm skipping over the romance? She's like, no, you're not missing anything. I'm like, I'm bored.
Yeah,
It didn't need to be in there. If she would have just been friends with him, or, like, they cared for each other very deeply, that would have been almost preferable. But the fact that they're, like, falling in love, and I don't know, it did nothing to add. I feel like she threw it in there to maybe add lightness to a otherwise really heavy and dark plot, and it just didn't. It didn't at all. Do you have anything to add about that?
No.
Let's talk about this might be a spoiler, so whatever. We've already dropped plenty of spoilers. There will be no spoiler edition in this version, I guess. The women in the jail. Why even bring that up?
Because she needed a purpose.
She already had a purpose.
Yeah, but she needed another one.
No, she didn't.
She did too. Otherwise, I don't know the point.
One of my likes, I'll just say this, is that while I disliked Domino, I also liked Domino. All throughout this novel, she has said exactly what she wants out of life. Exactly what she wants. There's never... I gotta give the author credit for that. We're always clear about what Domino wants and where she's headed.
Mm-hmm. A home.
Yep. She wants freedom, she wants a home, and she wants that for other people. So I understand her, desire to get these people out of the jail, but then they see it. She's like, I'm going to do something about this. She changes her game plan a little bit, and then they don't get released. They briefly mention that she's going to go and expose this place, but she burnt it to the ground. And Madame Corrine is probably dying. They're going to run away. How do you exactly think this is going to happen here?
I don't know.
The whole ending was so shoddy.
I guess there had to be a mystery as to what happens to girls who leave. And you don't leave. You cannot leave. You're stuck. And maybe it's kind of her, well, I'm searching for a home. I refuse to be stuck, and this is her moment too. But otherwise, I have no idea.
It needed to be, I want to say more creative, but that's a little...
No, I think it's accurate.
Yeah, and again, this book is not... I kind of thought that this book was going to have, like, a magical realism bent to it, and it didn't, and that's fine. I didn't bring my rating down because of that, but I don't know. I was just expecting more.
One of my problemos was her past, Domino's past. I won't get into it. Well, should I be?
Go ahead. We've already forgotten.
So it's another spoiler. So the beginning, through most of the book, that she has a past with her parents. Something has happened with her parents that has turned Wilson into this thing. And we eventually find out what it is, and it didn't bother me that it took a while. It was fine.
No, I thought
it
was
paced well.
Yeah, I agree.
The guy, what's his name? Rico? I don't know.
What guy?
The love interest.
Oh my God. Oh, Cain.
Cain. So
Rico.
I don't know. So
I said John Cena, and you're all over now.
Cain revealed what his big secret is, and so she feels compelled to do hers. And it's okay. So her father left, and her mother was upset or distraught about it. So then she turned her 12-year-old into a mass murderer, and that is only spoken about for 2 pages. And then I'm just supposed to buy that the 12-year-old chopped up people, and that's all I get?
Yeah.
That there was no explanation. Really, like, your husband leaves you, and now, I mean, I understand you're a man-hater, and maybe you go and do that, but to turn your 12-year-old into that too?
It was just not, it was, the information at that moment wasn't well dispelled, because I feel like in order for that to happen, like, how many women have been walked out on by men? That's not your typical response. Yes, there's a lot of anger, but her mom was clearly already sick, in her head.
But we don't know
we
that.
don't know that. We're just left to assume that, you know, she was living with someone who was also very damaged and flawed, and like I kept thinking there was going to be more with the dad, that he did more to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he also abused them. I don't know. It felt like there should have been something else there.
It seemed like in the beginning that the dad wasn't great. He was a bad guy, too. But then, no, he wasn't. He just
left.
Up and left. Mm-hmm. He doesn't say why he left. He just up and leaves.
The mom assumes it's for another woman.
Oh.
Because that's who she targets. She targets men who either are married or were married, or she believes will leave their husband or their wives. But yeah, she basically makes Domino torture them, and you know.
So her whole, you know, she's got a secret, and I'm thinking that this book is going to kind of go towards her family, her parents are some kind of historical mass murderers, because at one point the girls dropped the name Charles Manson out of nowhere, and many teens might know who Charles Manson is, but I mean, it's okay if you have to do research, but it comes out of nowhere. And then they also mentioned Don't Drink the Kool-Aid, which is a Jonestown reference. So I'm thinking, okay, so she's mentioned two like famous, infamous murderers. Maybe she's a descendant of, you know, a murderer. Her name is Domino. Maybe it's been passed down, a trickle effect. I'm trying to think more into it, and that didn't happen. And once again, that's not the book's fault,
right?
But it would have made it a little bit more interesting, because there have been books that have included Summer of Sam and the Manson girls, and they've kind of, you know, and those books actually became, you know, critically acclaimed because they kind of did a little slant with that. So I thought maybe this one was going to go somewhere. And then Wilson's weird little speeches, I thought maybe they were biblical, because they kind of sounded biblical, so I thought maybe she was going that route. No, it was just
a lot of weird,
but not well,
with no purpose.
Yeah. That I didn't like that.
Yeah. I did like the reveal of Domino's like crazy past. I thought, because when Kane revealed his, I was like, I was expecting something a little bit darker. So then I'm like, well, I wonder what's up with Domino. And she does drop a lot of hints along the way, so you're kind of already guessing. And I was like, okay, that's pretty dark. I've never read that before, personally. But yeah, a lot of it wasn't fleshed out. And this is a standalone, you know, so there's only so much that could really be put into this book. But I don't know. At the same time, I felt like this book needed a second edit. Just in the middle, when Domino's kind of trying to figure out like how to get out of here, missing the signs, trying to move up in the ranks. It was that could have been edited way down, because
I felt that it was already edited.
I didn't. She's like switching gears.
Yes.
75% through.
Oh, never mind. I thought you were going somewhere else.
What do you think I was going to say?
Well, I mean, they skip weeks in the house. So she's at the first level, and then she gets bullied. Well, okay. And then she quickly gets to the next level, and then she gets bullied again, but a different type of bullying. Okay. But they were like skipping. So I thought maybe it was going to be more about the house, but no, we didn't really get to see what's happening in the house, which is fine if that's not what the book is about. But
you're interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt like that whole message of the grass isn't always greener, because she always wanted to get up. She tried to have themes in the book. Just because you advance doesn't mean your life is better. You know, the whole the madam, she had her own agenda, even though, you know, she's trusting her. She's kind of like a mother figure, but at the same time, like you said, she's being drawn to the wrong type of people. It was just predictable and too on the nose. The message was too on the nose. I figured out the message fairly quickly as soon as she got in the limo and she was drugged. I mean, come on. She didn't even realize that she was drugged. Oh, God,
I know.
This girl.
She's like, she keeps handing me gummies. Dude, you've lived on the street. You're just going to take random stuff from people? Even I know not to do that.
Yeah.
And many girls are groggy from the trip. Oh, I bet. Oh my god, this is what I'm saying. She just like doesn't seem to understand what is going on. But you know what you said is true. You've lived alone on the streets slash basically homeless for 2 years in Detroit. I don't know.
At some point.
Do you have anything else for dislikes?
Yeah, I have a couple more. So the friend Dizzy, he had an interesting backstory.
He's barely in the book.
And it got dropped.
Yeah. I was very surprised about that.
Oh, no.
I liked him a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And she also kind of had her own little checklist. So we have an Iranian guy. We have a gay guy. A couple of the girls are minorities. We're checking stuff off the list, but they don't impact the plot at all. The guy is gay just to be gay. Okay. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, he's a very minor character.
Then there was... I feel like there was one more thing. This is very like minor, but it bothered me to high hell. She kept naming the gun as a Glock. Like, I'm supposed to know what the hell a Glock is. I watch a lot of crime shows. I couldn't tell you a Glock from a 22 I know what a semi-automatic is, but why did she just say gun? I know it's stupid, but I mean, I don't understand why she used the word Glock. Teens they probably don't know what a Glock looks like. Just say gun. It bothered me. She did it like 3 times, and I'm like, this is so, I had to laugh. I was like, laughing hysterically. I'm like, this is really stupid. But,
oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just too, like, if you're reading a book critically, it's too predictable, too many tropes, extremely formulaic. It's just not, just not a good critical read.
No.
And not even a good, like, cotton candy brain candy read.
No, it's definitely not a cotton candy read.
Not a fun read. Or
I enjoyed it. Like I said, I don't know. There was something about it that kept pulling me in, but it was because of my expectations.
I kept waiting for Wilson to be great, and that's why I kept reading it.
Like the crap with the house and the organization, I kept waiting for that to like kind of come to fruition, and it just doesn't. It's just in place because the person who's there is crazy and sees her girls as the flowers that her mother never gave her. Like, it was just too basic, unfortunately. But I was intrigued enough to keep reading. But I don't know. I liked Domino's determination and her loyalty. Like I said before, she's a character that knows what she wants. I liked that. I hate inconsistent characterization, and she is a little inconsistent at times, especially with the whole Wilson thing. So was Wilson, as we've covered.
Yeah, she was also a little at the end with the guy, Jack, I think it was. She at one point, she's like, I don't know, but she was shocked that he attacked her. And I'm like,
I could tell from the first time you met them that guy was not.
And that's why it's predictable.
Like, oh my god!
You knew immediately what was going to happen with that situation. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, I hate to say it, but Kane rescues her. Why can't she rescue herself? If she has this badass Wilson living in her head, how come he couldn't help her? Mm-hmm. I know she didn't want him to come out, but no, this is the time when he needs to come out. Little bullying, maybe not. But you're about to be raped. I think it's time for Wilson to come out. You know, like,
that's an appropriate time.
Her to save herself.
Yeah,
I like the potential of the story. It had a clear beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah, it did.
It didn't like drop off dramatically at the end. Mm-hmm. I like that she did have an inner monologue as far as it was kind of Wilson, but it was explaining her actions. You know, she is this girl she doesn't want to stand out, yet she wears bright wigs and high heel shoes. But the author explains, you know, this contradiction, because a normal person would be like, oh, if you're trying to hide, why are you standing out? But the author, you know, she explains that. She explains her attraction to the madam. I mean, she does have an inner monologue, and that's good, which made her consistent for the most part.
Yeah.
But
I liked the world building because it reminded me of Bone Gap. Like, it was it was a real, not necessarily a real location, because I don't know if Texas really exists.
I checked it. It's not.
But it took place in Texas, and it was based off of what I'm sure your average rural Texas town might kind of be structured like and look like. And it seemed creepy to me. It seemed like deserted, like a desert, weird. Yeah.
I guess Texas is not a desert, but
it's pretty
dry.
It's pretty hot, flat, and nothing's really there.
I like that the name of the town was Pox, because that's not a fun word.
Yeah.
It's like a sore, a bump.
And that's
gross.
There's definitely something bad happening in the town.
So she had moments. Yeah. There were things there. It's just like, oh, you need a bigger nudge just to push you over the edge, Victoria Scott.
Yeah. A couple other things. I liked the hierarchy of girls. I thought that was interesting. Again, the first thing you see is this hierarchy, you're like, ooh, this is interesting. But then nothing happens with that. Angie. I liked Angie. She was a reliable character. Her Domino's not attraction in like a romantic way, but like her wanting to protect and care for Angie made sense to me.
Yeah.
She was just this spitfire. I liked her past. We learned she used to work for Madame Karina, and we get some really important information with her. But that's about it.
Yeah. I was picturing when you first see the house, I wasn't picturing it very big, but then as she kept moving up, she would go up to a different floor, and I'm like, wow, this house must be huge, because if we have girls that really don't see each other, they're on their own floor, and they eat at different times, and there are several girls on each floor, and then there's houses in the back. I'm like, wow, this house must be huge. So at first, I was picturing this kind of tiny little quaint house. I'm like, no. This is a lot bigger than that. Were you picturing a big house?
I was picturing a medium-ish house, something with 3 floors, but not like
it seems like it's kind of a sorority house. Like a very big house. True. That
reminded me. Apparently, Madame Karina had a sister in Detroit who did the same thing.
And
that's never fleshed out. Nope. We get so much information about this sister and how she's like in this jealous rage and competition with her sister, and that's why she steals her girls from Detroit. And it's like, are we going to see the sister? That should never have been even said. There was enough there with her mom that she could have just left it alone at that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry, that just came in my head with the house.
Yeah. Well. All right, so that is our review of Violet Grenade. And next, we'll be taking a couple weeks off, and the next book we are going to be reviewing is A Face Like Glass by Frances Hardinge. I've started already. It is Crazy Town, but I like it. I like it a lot. And
we'll see you in the next podcast.